All right, today we are diving deep into some of the internet's most unsettling mysteries. The ones that haunted online forums for years, but have finally been solved. The internet is this kind of infinite place, right? It's like a digital universe filled with secrets, abandoned websites, strange codes, things that just don't make sense. And these secrets, they can just hang out in the shadows for a long time.
So that's what we're really getting at here. What happens when those shadows are finally brought into the light? What do we learn about ourselves, about our fears, when the unknown stops being, well, unknown?
Okay, so here's the plan. We're going to look at how these mysteries even start, then crack open 4 really famous case files, and at the end, figure out what we can learn from all of it.
All right, let's get into it. The thing about these mysteries is they're not just random glitches. They're actually more like reflections of us, our own curiosity, our creativity, and yeah, sometimes our biggest fears. Think about it. As more and more people got online and communities started to form, we saw this explosion of digital weirdness. Someone would find a strange video, or a post that made no sense, or a secret code, and boom, a mystery was born. So for our first case, we're talking about a figure that basically became a modern myth, Slender Man. But here's the twist. The real mystery wasn't the monster itself. It was a YouTube series that convinced a whole lot of people that he was actually real. So back in 2009, this YouTube channel called Marble Hornets just starts uploading these videos. And they look like old found footage, super shaky, all distorted. And then in the background, you'd catch a glimpse of this terrifying figure. The whole thing was so cryptic and anonymous, and it just kicked off this huge online investigation to figure out what was going on.
And that not knowing part, it was addictive. People turned into detectives overnight, pausing every single frame looking for clues. Was this real found footage? Was it some kind of elaborate game? The theories were flying everywhere, mostly because the creators were absolute masters at blurring that line between reality and fiction.
And the truth, when it finally came out, it was simple. Marble Hornets was 100% fiction, just a brilliantly made web series, crafted from day one to feel so real that it would tap right into our deepest fears.
What made it work so well was how they told the story. It's this thing called transmedia storytelling. They didn't just use YouTube, they used forums, they kept up that sense of anonymity, all to build this world that felt totally legit. The real scary part wasn't the monster, it was just how convincing the whole fake story was.
Okay, let's shift gears. Our next case required a whole different kind of brain power. This one was a global scavenger hunt, all based on cryptography, and it was looking for, and I quote, highly intelligent individuals. So this whole thing kicked off with a totally random anonymous post on 4chan back in 2012. And what came next was, well, it was maybe the most complex series of puzzles the internet has ever seen. They dropped a new one every year for 3 years, and nobody had a clue who was behind it. They just called themselves Cicada 3301.
And when I say complex, I mean incredibly complex. You needed to be an expert in everything from cybersecurity and cryptography to like ancient philosophy and classical music. They even hid physical clues in the real world, in cities from Warsaw all the way to Miami. Just wild.
So what was the point of all this? Well, the creators are still anonymous, but the people who actually solved the puzzles confirmed what it was all about. It was a recruitment test. Cicada 3301 was basically looking for geniuses to join this private group focused on things like cryptography, digital privacy, and fighting surveillance. So that's the key here. The mystery was the test itself. It was built specifically to find people with insane problem-solving skills and a very particular worldview. It wasn't some evil plot. It was just a super secret, really smart way to find the best of the best. All right, so we've gone from a global brain teaser to something different. This next mystery comes from just one single video. But oh man, was it unsettling. It became one of the first truly creepy viral videos on YouTube, featuring this weird mannequin and a really haunting little song. The video, from 2009, is called I Feel Fantastic. And it's just this android-looking mannequin named Tara singing in this flat, monotone voice. The whole setting is so sterile, her movements are so lifeless, and it just sent people's imaginations into overdrive. People were spinning these dark theories. Was it evidence of a murder? Was Tara a real person trapped?
The comments section was full of people who were genuinely creeped out.
But the real story? It took years to piece together through stuff like domain records and old interviews, but it was way less sinister. Turns out, it was just an experimental art project. A musician and animator named John Bergeron made it because he was interested in technology and performance art.
And this is a perfect example of something called the uncanny valley. You know that creepy feeling you get when something looks almost human, but not quite? Tara was designed to be right in that valley. The creepiness wasn't an accident, it was an artistic choice. And when you mix that with the anonymity of the internet, you get something genuinely unsettling. Okay, our last case file is a heavy one. It's a really powerful reminder of how a real-life tragedy can get twisted into a viral spectacle online, and how the truth can end up being so much more heartbreaking than any of the wild theories.
So this was in 2013. A 21-year-old student named Elisa Lam disappeared from the Cecil Hotel in LA. The police, as part of their investigation, released this elevator surveillance video, and in it, you see her acting really strangely. The footage is just deeply disturbing, and it blew up online almost instantly. The internet just went nuts with theories. People were saying it was ghosts, it was murder, a police cover-up, everything you can imagine. But the official findings? They told a very different and much sadder story. The coroner's report found that her death was an accidental drowning and that her bipolar disorder was a major factor. That bizarre behavior in the elevator, it was caused by a severe psychotic episode. And that's really the heart of it. Solving the mystery didn't make it any less tragic. If anything, it made it even more so. It pulled back the curtain on the very real, often invisible, struggles of mental illness. It's a tough lesson, for sure, about the danger of turning someone's private pain into a public mystery to be solved for entertainment. All right, so let's pull back for a second. We've looked at these different cases. What's the common thread here? What are those key ingredients that take some weird thing online and turn it into a massive, creepy internet mystery? Okay, ingredient number one is anonymity. For marble hornets, it was a storytelling trick to make it feel real. For Cicada 3301, it was a practical necessity to keep their recruitment secret. And with the I Feel Fantastic video, it was just that nobody knew who the artist was. But in every case, that anonymity creates a void, right? We don't know why something was made, and our brains just rush to fill in that blank with the scariest possible answer.
Next up, it's really just about how our brains work. We are wired to find patterns. It's what we do. So when we see the crazy codes of Cicada 3301 or the really confusing behavior in that Elisa Lam video, our minds immediately go into overdrive trying to connect the dots. We can't help it. We have this deep need to find a story, to find the signal in all that noise.
And the third big ingredient is amplification. I mean, none of these stories became legends all on their own. You have platforms like Reddit, 4chan, YouTube. They're like digital campfires. Someone shares one little theory and suddenly everyone is gathered around, debating it, adding to it. It creates this massive echo chamber that can take one weird video and turn it into a global obsession, like overnight. But here's the cool part. As we've seen, these things can be solved. And it's almost never a lucky guess. The solutions often come from the very same online communities that blew up the mystery in the first place. People start collaborating. They use digital forensics. They investigate methodically. They use logic, not just fear, to piece it all together. And really, understanding all this is pretty empowering. It shows us that we can look at these strange, unsettling things online with curiosity instead of just fear. Breaking it down and analyzing it doesn't make the internet any less weird, but it does help us turn that fear into actual knowledge. Look, the digital world is never going to be completely mapped out. There will always be new mysteries popping up. But what these cases show us is that a real, relentless hunt for the truth can bring even the creepiest digital shadows into the light. The next big mystery is already out there, just waiting for someone to solve it.